Hey, what is up guys, I'm KBHD here, and 11 years ago in 2006, Elon Musk wrote this as the Tesla master plan. Build a sports car, use that money to build an affordable car, then use that money to build an even more affordable car, while doing above also provide zero emissions electric power generation, and don't tell anybody. Well, they've done most of that. So Tesla held an event the other night. It was essentially the Tesla Model 3 delivery event. It wasn't really a launch event. It was more of an internal event for employees to mark the beginning of production for the Tesla Model 3. It was live streamed. There was a lot of hype. It was really exciting. People watched all around the world. But little did a lot of people know, earlier that day, Tesla invited a small group of press and actually let me drive the car, and we had a chat with Elon and Franz and a bunch of people who work for Tesla to learn a lot more about the project. Nobody knows about this because there were no photos or videos allowed. So they invited a YouTuber to do this, obviously, which is kind of funny, but plenty of articles were published, but no videos of the cars during the daytime. So all the videos that were published from that night of the Model 3s were obviously much darker because it's nighttime, and also no one actually got to drive them. They just gave them a sort of a loop. But from the 15 minutes or so that I actually got to drive Model 3, figured I'd give you my experience, what I actually noticed coming from a Tesla owner. So this is everything you need to know about Tesla Model 3. So first of all, there was a lot of hype for Model 3, and that came from how much people loved their Tesla Model S and Model X, and I'm one of those people, but obviously they're expensive cars. So they're great in a lot of ways. They got a lot of rave reviews. Enthusiasts really liked them for the most part. It was Motor Trend Car of the Year. Like, it was on the top of the hype train, but also most people couldn't afford to buy one. So when Tesla announced that Model 3 would come out as a slightly smaller, much less expensive, but still very premium Tesla, that got people very interested. Finally, a Tesla that's mass affordable. Direct quote from Elon in our meeting, we finally have a great affordable electric car. We've had great electric cars, we've had affordable electric cars, but they never really overlapped. This is that. So hundreds of thousands of people put in their deposits to get in line to pre-order Model 3, knowing that they wanted it just based on what Tesla said about it and what they've heard. They've never sat in one, they've never test driven one. Most people test drive a car before they buy it. Thousands and thousands of people said, I just want this car based on the promise that Tesla's delivered. And that kind of shows you how much trust people have in the company. So now all that hype is finally coming to fruition, which is really exciting for Tesla and really exciting for the industry as a whole. So they held this delivery event where they hand over the first cars off the production line to the first people that ordered, mostly Tesla employees, and then talk through how they plan on ramping up production of the car. And of course, now we know earlier that day I got to talk to Tesla for a bit, drive the car for a bit, and talk to Franz and ask my questions. So thank you to Franz and Elon and Tesla for that. So here's the main overarching observation. From me sitting in the driver's seat to me listening to them talk the whole day, it is all about simplicity. It's like a minimalist's dream car. There's nothing else quite like it. Everything about the interior is minimal. Everything about the exterior is pretty minimal. And everything, and this is most important, about the manufacturing process is as simple as possible. Tesla's not offering a whole lot of different options and different configurations for this car, and that's because they want the manufacturing process to be as simple as possible. The only way they're going to be able to satisfy all these orders and manufacture as many cars per week as they want to is by minimizing all the different versions of the car they have to make and keeping it as close to one SKU as possible. So that's the reason why there's not that many options. So there's two main versions of the car to start. There is the base model and there's the long range model. The baseline Model 3, the $35,000 one you heard about, has a 220 mile range, goes 0 to 60 in 5.6 seconds, has a top speed of 130 miles per hour. That's $35,000. And then the second version is the long range version of the Model 3. That one will have a 310 mile range, will do a 5.1 second 0 to 60, and has a top speed of 140 miles per hour. That is $45,000. Or sorry, $44,000. So plus $9,000 to go from the base model to the extended range model. And that's the one that's rolling off the production line right now. And then these are the options you'll be able to choose from. One is color, so black, dark gray, silver, white, blue, or red. Just choose your paint. And then the wheels, you can choose between 18-inch aero rims or 19-inch sport wheels. Pretty much every single car Tesla was showing had the 19-inch because it just looks a lot better that way. And then you can choose to add the premium package or no premium package. So if you do add it, it'll add things like the glass roof versus metal. It'll have the wood trim up in the front, add stuff like the premium speaker system, etc. There is no dual motor option right now. All these cars are rear-wheel drive, but it is supposed to come in the future. There will be a dual motor option later. I just don't know when. Then also by default, without paying extra, there appears to be no autonomous driving features. So all the cameras that are around the car, which are the same as Model S and Model X, are just used for safety features. So for $5,000, you can get option number 1, which is enhanced autopilot, which is lane holding, speed changing, self-parking, a lot of the same stuff my car does right now, and that'll get improved with software updates. And then for $5,000 more is the full autonomous self-driving capability, where you can get in the car and it'll take you from point A to point B and do everything for you. So that's still being worked on with software updates as well. But now you can see, you can pay a little bit extra and make it a more expensive car, as any other car is from their base model. But that's it for the options. So you're probably wondering, how is it? How is the drive? How does it compare to Tesla Model S? And honestly, they are very comparable. And I've sat behind the wheel and driven a bigger variety of cars lately, and it always strikes me as like I try to compare my car to it, and they're so different. But this car, this Model 3, feels like a Tesla, drives like a Tesla, accelerates like a Tesla. It feels kind of at home. Still has the headroom of my car, and with a little bit of a bonus if you get the glass roof. The front hood definitely slopes down a bit more, so when you're driving, you're gonna notice that. It'll feel like you're seeing less of the hood, but that also does mean the front trunk is a bit smaller. We opened it up and looked at it, and it's about big enough to accommodate like a backpack or a large overhead piece of luggage. That's about as big as it is. And then the rear trunk is a normal trunk, not a hatchback, but the seats fold down in the back so you can fit like golf clubs or a bike, but it's 15 cubic feet when it's closed. And then in the driver's seat, it's just so minimal, so simple and clean, because there's nothing. There's no dials, there's no buttons, there's no gauges or anything fancy. I mean, it's a $35,000 car, but all of the controls, 100% of the controls are done either on the 15-inch touchscreen or the 2 little fancy dials on the steering wheel. Even opening the glove box, which in this car is a button, is done on the touchscreen, and adjusting the mirrors is done on the touchscreen and with the dials on the wheels. And here's the most interesting one. You know how every car has the air conditioning vents in the front? You can sort of control the direction with the flaps. There's several of them in the car. In the Model 3, it's just one big slot all the way across the dash, the entire front of the car. And then you control the direction that the air flows on the touchscreen again. So this kind of stuff, I mean, obviously that's gonna take some getting used to. Usually you just adjust it and you're done. But there's a line between like when you make something more futuristic and it's easy, to where it would just be better off with a button or a knob. And I think that really is pushing the barrier, where just opening the glove box is 2 taps away on the touchscreen. People are gonna have to get used to that, but I think any car has a learning curve. And the idea behind this being so simple is Elon and Franz have talked about this is supposed to be an autonomous driving car. So most of the time you spend in the driver's seat won't be at your typical driving position, and that's why there's no screen behind the steering wheel. But ideally you'll be able to, talk to other people in the cabin, kind of ride along like you're in an Uber, play cards, have a conversation, I don't know, whatever you want to do. But when I am actually driving it, it does feel pretty nice. Obviously it's a little bit weird to have to look to the side to see all the stuff that's normally up front, like your speed is to the right, your blinkers are to the right, the brake hold is to the right, all the driving mode you're in, everything is not there, it's just a little bit off to the side. But once you get used to that, it's just a normal driving experience. You're accelerating with the electric throttle response. It's very responsive. It's not as fast as a Model S, but it's still very responsive. And on smaller wheels, it's quiet, it's clean. Again, everything goes back to how simple it is. And if you want to consider it from the manufacturing angle, what is that bird doing? If you want to look at manufacturing, basically the biggest differences between Model 3 and Model S is just there's way less bells and whistles with Model 3. The door handles don't slide out the car to greet you when you walk up to it. The key fob is just gonna be this app on your phone, or just like this minimal credit card type thing. There's no power liftgate trunk or even an option for it. It's just a normal trunk. There doesn't appear to be any air suspension option. It's only coil suspension, which is unlike the smoother air suspension from the Model S. And then of course there is no second display behind the steering wheel, which means there's also one less computer in the car. But at the end of the day, driving it really does feel like another Tesla, which I think is the most important thing to people who are considering it. And it's made for autonomy. All the same cameras and sensors of radar and LiDAR are all still in the car, so it can do all the same things that this car I'm sitting in can do, and will continue getting better through software updates. So from what I've saw, Tesla's learned a lot from Model S and all the talks and complaints people had about it, and applied that towards Model 3. There's more cup holders, there's more organized center storage space. Like, all these little things are taken care of because they had the previous cars to go by. So by far the biggest challenge for Tesla now that they've created and designed everything is just manufacturing enough. So that's what the event focused on. They're taking the next few months to basically gradually, actually pretty steeply ramp up production to be able to make 5,000 cars a week by the end of this year. But still, there's so much of a backlog. If you were to order today, if you order or put in your $1,000 deposit to get a Model 3 right now, you'll probably get your car towards the end of next year. So that's why Elon mentioned at our meeting, like they're really, at this delivery event, they were not selling the car at all. There will probably be a separate launch event for the actual Model 3 and separate reviews when those all come out. But this was not selling the car. This was not trying to add to pre-orders. This was just talking to the employees about, here we are, we're at the first step of a pretty big new thing that we're making, and that's what they're excited for. So there you have it. That's pretty much everything you need to know about Tesla Model 3, both now and for what's coming in the future. If there's any of those employees who were first off the line who would like to let me use their car for a video, definitely reach out, hit me up. But let me know, would you get a Model 3? Obviously $44,000 for a 310 mile range. That is the best cost to mile ratio you can get in an electric car today. And it has all the clout that Tesla already has. So let me know if you're interested. I'll be reading your responses and replying below. That's pretty much it. Thank you for watching. Talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.